as always, we want to thank Brad Watkins for his continued sponsorship of this show and many other things he does for student athletes across North Alabama. Also, to our good friends at Countertop Creations, they are our game-by-game breakdown. So we are looking forward to showing those guys some love, because without them, we wouldn't be here. We really want to appreciate them. Once again, that's Watkins Heating and Cooling and Countertop Creations in Rainbow City, Alabama. Guys, how's it been?
It's going really good.
Been really good.
It's going
Chandler?
good. I can't complain.
Chandler, I'm digging the hat.
Thank you. Thank you.
Hey, I got an Average Joe shirt on, man. I'm rocking
probably
it.
fired up then,
I'm fired up, really
ready to
hyped.
roll?
Yes, sir.
Guys, I want to kick this one off. Let's kick this off in 5A. Let's start this thing off in 5A this week. We got a lot of big games coming up this week. None bigger on the schedule right here in 5A than Arab and Boaz. I want to kick it off right there. You know, Coach Sullivan coming off a staple win for his career. When you look at what Boaz was able to do and take on Guntersville last week and get that win, that was pretty huge. And then on the other side of that spectrum, you know, Arab was in an absolute shootout with Scottsboro and ended up losing. Beckett, when you look at this game, what do you see? These are two really good teams, two really good quarterbacks, two really good programs going head-to-head.
Yeah, hey, starts from Mr. Childers. We've talked about him all year. He can sling it around, throwing 155 passes. Now broken the 1,000-yard mark. Already thrown for 1,016 to be exact. And he can, with Hudgens and Bennett, Alexander, Sullivan, a lot of guys with a lot of catches. Now they're slinging it around the field. You called it, man. You called it.
That was Pierce you're talking about at quarterback.
Yeah, you called it, and they are.
Last week's game?
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
You called it. You said it was going to happen, and big, huge 42-35 win. So can't say enough about those guys. Now that region starts to get really interesting, and they turn around this week. Now they got another one now. SEC, we're not done. All right, it don't stop with Guntersville. Arabs, you just pass one bully to the next one now.
Yeah.
Let's see what happens this week. Going to be a goodie.
When you look at Arab and this game right here, I think if Boaz wins this, it kicks a three-way tie. We're trying to get set up a playoff show. So if we can get that set up, that's going to be fantastic. Playoff breakdown show. But if Boaz were to win, I believe it sets up a three-way tie and for first place there in that region. If they were to lose, then that changes everything.
You're familiar with Arab. Let me ask you, the line's been set by the guys that do this. 6, Arab. How do you like that line?
It's an interesting line, and I can tell you why. Either whoever was going to be favored, I figured it'd be less than a touchdown.
Can we do a favor?
Yeah.
Can we go to a break real quick? Let me figure this out.
Yeah.
Could we do that? Is MJ?
We got to talk to MJ.
Can we go to a break? All right, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be right back.
At Bentley Prosthetic and Medical Supply, we care about you. We offer custom prosthetics, orthotics, diabetic shoes, and durable medical supplies. We're located here in Alexandria, Alabama, where it's a country feel but professional care. Come see us today.
Campers Unlimited, we offer a no-pressure experience, no hidden fees, and great service after the sale, making us one of the fastest-growing RV dealers in the Southeast. With our second location in Oxford, we offer a great selection of over 220 campers from top brands, including Grand Design. Our mission is to help friends and family spend time together in the great outdoors. At Campers Unlimited, you aren't just a customer, you are family. Check out our inventory at campersunlimited.net or come see us at Gaston or Oxford.
Hello, I'm Taylor Sloan with the City of Oxford, with a word about one of our city's most precious resources, water. Clean water enriches our lives in so many ways, but we cannot afford to take it for granted. Remember, every time you pour something unnatural down the drain or in the environment, and every time you litter, our beautiful lakes and creeks suffer. Our city is beautiful. Let's all join together to keep it that way. Stop pollution where it starts, and help protect our waters for life.
What can you buy for $10? A hat? A milkshake? 166 channels plus live sports? That's right, for only $10 you can get 166 channels of classic TV shows and movies, including the latest news update from all around the world and local sports. Just simply go to 24ctn.com and click download, and then for only $10 you can have access to the best TV available.
Some say college isn't for single parents or people who work full-time. I'm here to prove them wrong. I'm a first-generation American, the father of Dion, and a non-traditional student at Gadsden State Community College. As a sergeant in the Army National Guard, I've watched soldiers with degrees progress faster in their careers. So today, I'm in school, involved in the Veterans Upward Bound program, and excited to see what's in store for my career. I truly am earning my wings at Gadsden State.
All right, everybody, let us know if we got the technical difficulties fixed. We had a sound issue, but I think we got those fixed. We will know in just a second. But yeah, Beckett, back to your point. You know, we was talking about Arab, Boaz. I figured whoever was going to be favored in that game is going to be under a touchdown. Them favoring Arab, it's tick for tack. Anytime it's under a touchdown, it could go either way, in my opinion. I think the team that's more physical up front is going to be the team that wins that football game more consistently, because you got two great quarterbacks, Tyler Pierce and Drew Puggio, up, that are playmakers on both sides. You got skilled guys out wide that can play. And like you said, Childers has been running the ball like a madman between the tackles for Boaz. So it's going to be interesting. I think whoever controls that line of scrimmage is going to win that football game.
Is that a home field advantage, you think?
Could be, and that definitely plays into it. And that's a very hard, unique place to go play and win a football game as well.
That's a tricky game, and I think Arab felt like they had one that slipped away from them last week. I didn't know this until they were up 47-33 in the fourth quarter, and gave up the lead. So I know that they're sick about that.
Got to be sick about that one. Right back to you, Coach Beckett. Sardis is -5 over Brewer. These Sardis seniors, I talked to B.J. Brooks this week doing his show. We went up there and did his show Monday that will be dropping tomorrow. But we talked about, the importance of sending his seniors out with a win. They're not going to go to the playoffs. We know that. He started the 10 new starters. Then he had 6 offensive linemen down with injuries on top of the 10 new starters. So it's been an uphill battle, so to speak. But talk to us about the importance of sending those seniors out with a win.
Absolutely. This is kind of the beginning of spring training and off season for the younger guys. Now, seniors, we don't want to look at it that way, and definitely want to send them off on the right note. But for the future of the program and the guy they have in place, the future is. These games are big. You can't get enough snaps, and all these guys are young. So many of them are young, so really important. Now they're starting to upset people. They're playing with people. So I look for good things, and could be a battle there with Brewer.
Kicking it over to you, Mr. Chandler.
Thank goodness.
Jacksonville, a 1-point favorite over St. Clair County. St. Clair County seems to have gotten their quarterback back, been playing better football. This is a dangerous game for Coach Smith and company.
Landon Smith was one of my helmet sticker award. He's been playing really well the entire year. Coach Tyler Robinson's done a great job getting that program moved back in the right direction. He's an Oxford guy.
So, there you go.
Yeah, he's done a better job than I did taking over a program that needed to be turned around. So kudos to him. Jacksonville, Zay English, you got a two-headed monster in that backfield. Coach Clint Smith is used to winning. I'm actually kind of shocked that Jacksonville's favored in this ball game. I know it's almost a pick 'em, but I'm surprised that they're favored in this ball game. Kind of struggled a little bit throughout the year, playing really well of late. Really got that run game going. Everybody knew once the season was going on and they were able to get, they wasn't so one-dimensional and they were able to throw the football, they were going to be better. Work at 95.1 every Friday night before the school board show, so I get to hear a majority of the Jacksonville games as they cover the Jacksonville games. I talked to Grady Sapp a good bit. He talks to Coach Clint Smith a good bit. Defensively, got to stop giving up so many big plays. And but this one's going to be a good one, and this one's for all the marbles. Whoever wins is in the playoffs. And so, like I said, Jacksonville is used to winning. Does that kind of carry over into this game just because they're used to playing in big games, used to winning big games? Do they have the advantage there over St. Clair County team that hadn't played in a whole lot of meaningful games the last couple of years? So this one's going to be intriguing to see, and I'm intrigued by it to see who wins. Jacksonville gets this game at home. It's another what we talked about. Does home field advantage matter there?
Hey, can I stop and put a shameless plug in? 95.1 people, if you're looking for a station, I'm usually coming home for a game looking for a station. Had a coach, Loach Polka, they were playing up this way. They said, what's the best station here? I said, jump on 95.1 and catch some of that. And he was like, yeah, that was pretty good. So Chandler Tyree, not just saying that because he's here. No, it's actually talk to others. Man, he's got a good show going on. Catch it.
If you can't pick up 95.1, it streams on Friday nights on Average Joe Sports Talk as well, WEAC TV as well. It streams both platforms.
It's been really cool. We've started getting a lot of call-ins just from like radio and stuff, but then we've also had a lot of interaction on the chat room on the people that are watching it live on Facebook, and that's pretty neat. I know we've got people that watch this show and that show, and it's pretty neat to see the following that we've been able to pick up.
They put it on the team bus, so the whole team
got
to hear
cool.
it.
That's awesome.
Pretty cool.
That's awesome.
That's cool. Right here back with you, Chandler. Moody heavy favorites over Lincoln. This is a pretty, it is what it is.
Lincoln has struggled. It's a mismatch. Lincoln's very young. Coach Sedeker does a really good job over there. I mean, he's had some really good teams the times that he's been there. Won a couple region championships, I believe. Just a down year. And when you talked to him before the year, you kind of knew they were going to be young. And coaches can't come out and say, hey, we're not going to be very good. That's not a good way to go into the season. I've been there before where you felt like if everything don't go the right way, it's going to be a tough year for you. But you can't go into the media days, and you can't talk to the newspaper and people like us and say, man, it's going to be a tough year. Because if you do that, your whole entire your town, your kids hear that, your town is ticked off. And but it's been a rough year for them. And Moody's a really good football team. Moody is one of the favorites to have a chance to win Class 5A. Hadn't lost a game in Class 5A. Only have 2 losses on the year, and that was to an undefeated Oxford team and a close game, and then a Gainesville team who has only lost 1 game in Georgia, and that was to Milton High School, which has a really good program. So you're talking about just like you said, a big time mismatch. Moody's hitting on all cylinders. We talk about Moody all the time. The quarterback Johnston's a really good player. They got some really good running backs. They're big up front on both sides of the football. And I always come back and say it. Coach Clint Smith at Jacksonville said that's the best defense he's seen in all his years of coaching. So that's big words from a guy that's had success like Clint Smith.
When you're talking about one of the best defensive fronts that I've seen in recent memory, that front reminds me of like some of the Thompson fronts and stuff like that we've seen maybe Pike Roads a couple of years ago.
But Leeds the past few years have had a really, really good defensive front. And
Kavion Henderson.
Yeah, and I think that they felt like Moody felt like that they had a chance to be special up front. And Coach even talked about how they have a chance to control the line of scrimmage like Leeds has done the last couple of years, and it's been nothing short of that the whole entire season.
Beckett, kicking this one over to you. Guntersville coming off of a stunning loss that, a lot of people didn't expect. I kind of, not toot my own horn, but I said that was going to be an interesting game in the fourth quarter. But how do you respond to it? Because the last thing you want to do, and we talked about this last week, is you don't want a loss to turn into a second loss because you get your heads down. They got to regroup. But this Douglas team's going to be hungry for a win because he wants to send his seniors out with a win. He's got 24 of them.
And I like him. I like his team, and some of the things that they've done this year is not. They're definitely not a pushover. Big spread there. Guntersville 7-1 fell to 5th in the state power poll. Douglas is 3-19 all-time versus, so it's you look at the rivalry in county there, and Douglas lost last year, 56-14. So Douglas is averaging 24.7 points they're giving up on defense, and offensively they scored 26. So they have moved the ball. There again, you got to have that upset formula, find a way to have something good happen earlier. You don't want Guntersville to get the steam rolling because they are pretty good, folks, when they get to going.
Yeah, they were undefeated up until last week, and Coach Sully said at first, he's like, how do you not lose a game and go from number 1 in the state to number 2? But now I know Catholic's undefeated. They won the state last year. tick for tack. You can say, okay, that's why they jumped them, whatever. None of that means anything. That's why we play playoffs. Polls mean nothing.
Absolutely nothing.
Beckett, we're going to kick this up to 7A, and you got one right here to check out with Albertville. We'll go ahead and knock that out with the Albertville Aggies.
Yeah, and obviously disappointing. Same formula. Coach Brown just got to keep on keeping on. They need to get better. Spot players here and there. I think they've got some linebacker play that's getting a lot of tackles. You've got to develop as they move forward, and they're moving forward toward next year. They've got to find, just continue to put some pieces, a lot of receivers, running game's got to add. So to me as a coach, I look at it way different. Some people's just, hey, putting it to bed. I'm not. If I'm Coach Brown, man, this thing is, I'm building. I'm starting to get excited. We're working toward next year and building something.
Let's jump down here to 1A.
Let's do it to it.
Let's do it to it. Jump down here to 1A, and I'm going to throw this one at you, Chandler. We're talking about Woodland is coming to take on Donahoe here. Woodland, a couple of years ago was really good. They've taken a little bit of a step back, but now you got to look at Donahoe. Had some ups and some downs this year, but it's a 15-point line. But how do you see this one playing out?
Donahoe is currently on a 2-game winning streak. They've got another big win early in the year against Raglan, who's completely turned things around and is now a playoff team. I think this spread kind of surprised me. Woodland's favored by 15, and Woodland comes into the ball game at 2-6. But they've had to play really good. They've had to play Winterboro. They've had to play Wadley. They've had to play Pleasant Valley. They got beat 8-6. There is a common opponent between these two teams, and that is Pleasant Valley. Pleasant Valley. Both of these teams took a loss to Pleasant Valley, but it was 12-2. It was 12-2 against Donahoe, and it was 8-6 against Woodland. So I think it's two evenly matched teams. I think that. I think Donahoe is starting to figure some things out. Let me pull up some stats right here, because there were some kids from Donahoe that had some really, really good stats this past week, and I want to make sure
Farrell with 19 tackles. How about that?
Yeah,
3 for a loss.
Hayes Farrell is a really good player. He also had a really good night offensively. Kai Kleckler had a good game as far as what he does, but offensive stats. Ethan Bailey rushed for 178 yards on 24 carries and 3 touchdowns. Kai Kleckler added 31 yards on 5 carries. Hayes Farrell had 3 for 88. Do that average with a touchdown. So in all, they almost rushed for 300 yards and 4 touchdowns. Receiving, Hayes Farrell had 6 for 70 and added another touchdown. James Binkwith had 4 for 90. There's a team, like we talked about it, and Kai Kleckler, 14 of 27, 221 yards passing. They're a team, and I talked about it coming into the year.
Seemed to caught lightning in a bottle.
Yeah,
spreading it around.
Well,
it's starting to look like a Bill Smith team.
Bill Smith knows how to coach offensive football. Bill Smith is a great football coach. He's got a really good young mind around him and Marshall Clark, and a really good staff. Marshall Clark was a guy that was Fox 6 Defensive Player of the Year his senior year, played linebacker for us at Mumford, played at Jacksonville State. He's the first-year defensive coordinator for him, and they're doing a really good job. And I knew they were going to put up points. I didn't know it was going to be this much of an improvement to go to the playoffs from not winning a football game to going to the playoffs. But I knew there was going to be some improvement because I know what Bill Smith does. I know he was excited. It's good for him. He's had a couple of rough years before he got there himself. And so I'm happy for him. And I think this game will be closer now. I think their offense is going to be hard to stop in Class 1A when they play an opponent that matches up with them.
Coach Beckett, very huge game for playoff implications right here. Appalachian versus Valley Head. This is one of those, if you don't like violent football, you probably don't want to check this one out because there are going to be some collisions in this football game. It's a 2-point line for a reason. This is going to be an outstanding high school football game.
Yeah, interesting. Appalachian is favored. I think that's home field advantage, which I can see that. Had some classics that a lot of people don't know about a couple years ago. With Mr. Bain stole one with interception late, where Appalachian had a huge upset at home that would have been a monster against a top 5 Valley Head team. Now Appalachian's closed the gap a little bit. Now it's they're the favorite, and we know that Valley Head puts about 5 rushers that they go between 200 and 300 yards. They're going to put up offensively. They're going, like you said, they're going to pound on you. That's one that you check your scoreboard and you want to see. Appalachian very physical as well. And the big thing is they stayed healthy this year.
They have, and we knew coming into the season that Valley Head was going to challenge for that region. And I'm going to be honest with you, Coach, I was out there today at Spring Garden, and Coach Ragsdale's like, hey, this thing still is up for grabs, like where people's playing in the playoffs. He said, we're in the playoffs. We don't know. This thing's still up for grabs. So they've got to take care of business. Still a lot of football to be played in that region.
Spring Garden hadn't clinched the region championship?
I don't think they have technically on paper.
Okay.
Well, according to Coach, they have it. So, and I'm not going to argue with him, but you know what I'm saying?
I think we're going that way, but yeah, I get it.
We as coaches have to have something to motivate.
Yeah, what he's saying, but the playoff picture in that region still.
No, he's clinched. They don't have another region game. They beat everybody in the region. Spring Garden is in,
okay,
but there's a bunch of stuff behind that's crazy.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so I didn't second guess them. I thought they had, but
Don't tell the kids.
yeah, don't tell the kids. Let's keep it right there in that county, Beckett. Galesville Coach Knapp and Company is taking on Woolville.
How do you pronounce that?
It's
by the way?
Woolville.
Okay, I don't know.
It's a silent D.
Beckett, when you look at this game, Coach Knapp and Company's a 3-touchdown favorite, 22-point favorite. Talk to us about this football game.
Hey, I'm going to have them. Galesville was my Alex Beatty had another 208-yard game. They're in the ball game. I think it came down to numbers. Just players wore out when you're playing 12 people. And they're solid for a quarter and a half. They're in the ball game or ahead every week. So they're going to be the best team that didn't make the playoffs in 1A. I'm going to go ahead and put that out there. Hey, let's close the year. Pound it. I feel good about them.
Are they out
against
for
Woodville?
sure?
They're out.
Yeah, with that loss last week to Ragland, they're out of the playoffs.
Okay.
Well, do you think it could be a case of they're going to show up, play hard, or do you think they're going to let last week's loss kind of affect them in this game?
I'll say one thing about that group. Those kids traditionally play really hard. He's got a really good group, and like I say, the Beatty kid is he's a big time player. And he's a 1,000-yard rusher. I think he'll close it out.
Speaking of that Ragland team, each one of you guys can touch on this. Coach, I see you have some stats there. Ragland's taking on Ider. Coach Grant and company's really reeling this year. Gave up another 60-point piece last week to Spring Garden. It's rough times at Ider right now on the football side of things, but talk to us about this game.
Hey, let's brag on Ragland, where they're at, coming back from. A lot of people were burying them. They were throwing dirt on them, all right? But Coach Tidwell said not so fast. He's motivated these kids. He's got that community reined in. And Ethan Everett, 11 catches, 87 yards, 3 touchdowns, and 20 rushing. Another huge win. Found a way to get in the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, when you look at Ragland and what they were able to do, just unbelievable. Like you said, people had them buried. They had all the drama that happened before the season with the rumors swirling around and people leaving and going other places. And for him to be able to keep that team together and for them to rally around each other and to put themselves in the playoffs. And here's the thing, if I'm not mistaken, if Appalachian beats Valley Head, Ragland would be the 3 seed in that region. I think if Valley Head beats Appalachian, there would be a 3-way tie for second, if I'm not mistaken. But it's another one of those regions where, like you said, a lot can happen. We feel like that they're already wrapped up, that Spring Garden's already got the region wrapped up. They're in an open week, they're in a bye week. But 2 through 4, Coach was right. There's a lot that can happen there. That Appalachian versus Valley Head game is a pretty good game. And Ragland goes into this game as a overwhelming favorite, favored by 30. But you got to take care of business on the field. We can write what we want to on paper, but if you don't take care of business on the field, none of that matters. But kudos to what they've been able to do in the season they've been able to have.
According to on paper and just talking heads, Ragland's football season was over earlier in the year, and they flipped that thing around.
Yeah, not so fast, my friend. Hey, at Spring Garden, want to touch real quick. Lucas McGatha, 8 carries, 123 yards. Want to get that name out there. Great job by the Garden.
At the Garden.
Yep. Look at him talking about somebody that's on a bye week.
Yep. I like where you're heading.
Let's overachieving this week.
Man,
let's kick this thing up to 6A, and then we're going to knock a couple of these out before we go to break. I want to start with you. No bigger win in the state of Alabama last week than what Oxford did right here in Oxford, Alabama. This week they turn around and take on an opponent of a different aspect. You got Huffman, who's been reeling again this year. Last year didn't score a point, period, all season. It's going to be a tall task for Huffman to stay in the game with this Oxford team.
Oxford, what kind of team shows up this week? I think you're going to see the maturity, which everybody's talked about. When Coach Adams got there, he's another guy. Lost a lot of people to the high school transfer portal. Lost a lot of people to
13
graduate. Yeah,
And then
lost a lot of
graduated 30.
nobody. Yeah, and then graduated 30. Like a lot of people don't want to realize what he rode into. The job that he's been able to do since he's been at Oxford has been unbelievable.
Phenomenal.
I said, you can say what you want to. The guy can coach, and people can say what they want to. And then he finally kind of let his guard down a little bit the other day, and he finally said what he's been feeling the entire time. After the huddle, I don't know if you've seen the video circulating on social media, he said that 4 years ago that people had buried Oxford. They had put them in a ditch. That Oxford football program was done, and now look at where they're at. They beat the state champs. We talked about, like, until they lose in the playoffs, Clay Chalkville is the defending state champion. They got state champion next to their name. They won it last year. They were undefeated up until this point in the season. But they rode into Lamar Field. The stands were packed. It was an electric atmosphere. But listen to these three guys defensively. And this game could have got out of hand. It was 10-0, like right there. Like Oxford touched the ball one time the entire first quarter. Clay Chalkville drove it down the field, kicked a field goal, and then just absolutely was punching in the mouth. And Oxford's defense was tired. It was 10-0.
I didn't know that. You don't want to get down to Clay, buddy.
It was 10-0. Oxford scored 21 unanswered. Obviously, Nick Richardson, 2 touchdowns, huge game. Jalen Taylor made a play that I think a one-handed catch by being held by the defender that kind of got Oxford going. Mason Mims was Mason Mims. They had some big plays in the run game, but listen to these three guys defensively. James Tapley, 18 tackles. Jai Fleming, 17 tackles. Keenan Britt, 16 tackles, including the one-arm sack where he was getting held, essentially. He reaches out by one arm and yanks the quarterback from Clay down. Unbelievable game for them. Do they show maturity, take care of business quickly against Huffman? It's supposed to be at Huffman, but the game's actually been moved back to Lamar Field because of different things they got going on in Birmingham this week. I think the Classic is coming up. So with the Classic coming up, they're going to have that game Thursday night at Oxford this week.
Thursday night?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
At Oxford. Yeah.
I went to Huffman last Thursday night for a little bit, and then we eased on over to watch Carver, Birmingham, and Ramsey. Beckett, before we go to commercial break, how does Ali Smith and company respond to the loss last week of the Southside Panthers? Interesting game, the talking heads are, blah, 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 but they still got a lot of football to play at Gadsden, and the time is now. They got to turn it around, and they got to do it versus somebody that knows them all too well, and Rico White. He knows all about Gadsden City. He's at Mae Jemison now. They've had some good times and bad times both up there. Talk to me about the rebound game right here.
Hey, I got to see one half of that, second half, amazing game. As we said, a game that needs to take place for Etowah County. Really good for high school football. If you saw that crowd, that atmosphere, how juiced it was. Yes, as you say, and we've been saying last couple of weeks, don't let one loss turn into 2 losses. You circle the wagon. Hey, when you lose a game like that, we know from our in-state college, Alabama and Auburn, when losses take place, static and noise and people start to chirp, hey, you got to circle the wagons, let all that stuff go, and focus on you and continue to get better and do what it takes. Looking like they're going to be a playoff team. I think they may be already clinched. And then so you've got to go forward, learn from it. There's learning lessons and everything. Kai Franklin had another really good game. He was 10 of 19, 176 yards, had a touchdown. He is a game manager, really, really heady kid. TJ Worthy, 12 carries, 183 yards, 2 touchdowns, caught the ball. 3 catches for 78 yards and a touchdown. So he had 3 total. Another really good night for TJ Worthy. Did some really good things. And here's the learning lesson. Next time you're in a situation, 4-minute offense, close the game. Close the door. All right? Don't get complacent. Don't think, hey, we're Gadsden, they're Southside. No. Close the door. Get the first downs and finish the job.
Keep it right here and let's talk about Southside. They're on the opposite end of the spectrum. They went out and won that big game. They're the winners of that big, huge Etowah County game that people's been waiting on for the last 15 years. How do they respond? Because they got Hazel Green and they're a 19-point favorite. They're a big favorite coming off a big win. You don't want the trap game type scenario to come in. How do you stay away from that?
Yeah, you can't turn around and you can't lose and you can't I mean, they're in the race. We had them as dead, guys, and they're right here.
Yeah.
They missed a field goal, or they're going to be region champions against Fort Payne. They're looking to host. Huge win for them. How about Cooper Yancey coming in when the game was on the line? They get to stop. They needed to get back, go down the field, and kick the field goal. Just amazing right there at the end of the game. Jordan Bryan, C.J. Martin, so many guys. They had 336 yards of total offense and had 251 rushing. Cole Garrett, 24 carries, 146 yards, and 2 receptions for 16 yards. And listen, excitement. This is high school football. If you'd have seen the field afterward and how excited the community and the kids were, went back to Southside, turned the lights on, and celebrated a little bit. And I don't say that to bemoan or put down Gadsden City. That's good for high school. There was a lot of happy kids right there, lifetime memories.
It was a good football game. Both teams competed really hard. But Southside has wrapped up the 2 seed. They're 4-1. The worst they can finish is 4-2. They hold the tiebreaker with everybody else. They will host a playoff game. After what you said, it's not going to be hard for them to get up in this game because there was people that had buried them. And believe me, that coaching staff and those players haven't forgot about what people said about them early.
Real quick before we go to break, knock out the Fort Payne Lee Huntsville game. They're a 49-point favorite, and then that'll knock out 6A Fort.
Fort Payne is rolling now. When you look at Fort Payne went from one of those teams that everybody was like, what is wrong with Fort Payne? They lost their first 2 ball games to a Scottsboro team that's been really good and a Garnesville team that's been really good. They hadn't lost since. And be honest with you, other than the Southside game, they hadn't had a close game since. They're a team that's rolling. Lee of Huntsville's been struggling. I think they take care of business. They're rolling. Coach Elmore does an outstanding job over there. Dax Varnador does an outstanding job at quarterback. They play really good defense, and their offense is starting to get it rolling. We're talking about a team that put up probably set school records last year as far as offensive numbers, and then this year they're continuing to improve. They've gotten better each and every week. Fort Payne's going to be a scary team once you get in the playoffs. But the thing about it is that the matchups that they get once they get in the playoffs is going to be pretty formidable.
We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be right back.
Some say college isn't for single parents or people who work full-time. I'm here to prove them wrong. I'm a first-generation American, the father of Dion, and a non-traditional student at Gadsden State Community College. As a sergeant in the Army National Guard, I've watched soldiers with degrees progress faster in their careers. So today, I'm in school, involved in the Veterans Upward Bound program, and excited to see what's in store for my career. I truly am earning my wings at Gadsden State.
Come out and check out the Alabama Tractor Difference. We can take care of all your needs of parts, sales, and service for RTVs, zero turns, and tractors and construction equipment. See us here in Lincoln at 620 Speedway Industrial Drive. Or come visit us here in Asheville at 275 6th Avenue, or give us a call at 205-594-7000.
At Southern States Bank, we pride ourselves on being your bank. We're your neighbors and involved in the community. We're the bank featuring the Southern Rewards checking account, a cashback account with no ATM fees. We are on the cutting edge and always have a smiling face to help you out. So come to Southern States Bank, where we are committed to great service and being a great neighbor. Let us be the bank for you and your business.
I'm Alan Parnell, the Parnell Insurance Agency. We've been here in Oxford and Alabama, Tallapoosa, Georgia since 1990. With Auto Owners Insurance, we're able to give customers competitive pricing along with excellent coverages. Parnell Insurance can handle all of your personal, commercial, and life insurance needs. We have a very experienced staff, both personal and commercial. All together, we've got about 125 years experience. Come see what our insurance agency can do for you in Oxford, Alabama, and Tallapoosa, Georgia.
Auto Owners Insurance.
All right, everybody, we are back from our commercial break, and again, we want to thank our sponsors, Watkins Heating and Cooling. Anybody in or around North Alabama has any heating or cooling problems, you need to check out my man Brad Watkins. He is always available to talk. You can look him up on Facebook. You can Google his company as well, Watkins Heating and Cooling, as well as Countertop Creations. Countertop Creations in Rainbow City. Any of your countertop needs, they specialize in granite countertops. They have a machine there that I've seen work in action. It's unbelievable process they have there, but they can custom make anything that you guys need. Guys, we're going to get over into 4A. This is a game that each one of you guys can break down because each one of these teams play in one of your counties. Beckett, you can kick us off. We're talking about the Alexandria. Is another scenario where they come off of a bad loss, to Cherokee County last week. How do they respond? They're going to be taking on Etowah. Etowah has to travel to Death Valley. That's always a very tough place to play. Talk to me about this football game, Becky.
Got an opportunity to visit Coach Roach, the offense coordinator. Thrilling. What a great win. Get the ball with just over a minute. That's what you dream about in the backyard. Take it down.
They had to go like 80 or
You had to go 80, didn't panic. Really proud of the offense that did what they had to do to get to win. All right, it's got to translate over. They are getting better. We called this. We all three of us knew that that this team would improve as the season went on. They have. All right, here they are, the 12-point dog against a really good Alexandria. Man, I look for a goodie. I look for it to stay under the number.
Hey, this region,
Alexandria.
This region right here, here's what y'all gotta. If Alexandria loses this ball game, Etowah gets the 4 seed, and Alexandria is completely out of the playoffs. If Alexandria wins, Anniston takes care of business, and Oaks Bluff takes care of business, then you have a 3-way tie for the 2 seed in 4A Region 6. So that region is one of those regions that's just absolutely crazy. It's almost the craziest region we cover, but when we get to 3A, y'all see even more craziness in Class 3A. But Alexandria has to take care of business at home to be able to get in the playoffs. They're going to need their guys to play well. But Etowah I know Etowah struggled last week against White Plains. I think White Plains played spirited, and Etowah just kind of coming off of a tough loss to Anniston, who I think is starting to play really well. But I think that region, and 4A North is not very good. I think that region, 1 through 4, whoever ends up getting in is going to give anybody problems. Alexandria needs their guys to play well. They need to get back to playing the way they were when they beat Oaks Bluff. They need to get back to the way they were. And, I think don't even look at last week's game. I think Cherokee County's got a really good football team again and could be the favorite to come out of 4A North again. But Alexandria and Etowah, this is going to be a big one. What kind of tricks does Scott Peavy have up his sleeve? What has Todd Ginn not showed that he's going to bring out of his tool bag as well? So I think this is going to be a game that I'm intrigued by. It's at Alexandria. Anytime you got to go to Death Valley, that's a tough place to play. I'm intrigued. I think that game's going to be a lot closer than what the line shows.
Coach Beckett, let's talk about this North Jackson-Randolph game.
All right, let's look at North Jackson. They've had a really good season, very competitive, coming off a 52-10 win over Westminster Christian. And here they are playing Randolph, and who they are 6-4 all time. Lost last year to Randolph 36-6, but I think this is a much improved. If you Plainview's the only thing that's in the way of them having a 6-game winning streak. They are a really sound team, outscored opponents 233-110, and here they are in the region 5-1, so they're looking to maybe be the what are they there? They're the 2 seed behind Randolph, so we're playing for something big game there.
Well, they're getting Randolph, so that's where you handle that. It's on the field.
Yep.
Right back to you. This team's all too well. You do a coach's show at Anniston. You were the head coach at White Plains at one point. Anniston at White Plains. White Plains lost in gut-wrenching fashion last week to Etowah. How do you respond to that with an Anniston team that has seemed to find their groove as of late?
Yeah, the good thing is at Robertson Field at White Plains, will that home crowd give White Plains the juice that they need to stay in this ball game? They're a 29-point dog. Anniston seems like they're starting to get things rolling in the right direction. Absolutely controlled a team in Etowah that's gotten better and better as the years went along. A couple of weeks ago, did what they needed to do against Aniana last week at Aniana. This one's a tough game. I think Annison's figured out who their quarterback is. Pope kid's playing really well for them. Jabari Williams at running backs had a great year. They've got some other guys that stepped up. They've got some defensive guys. Charles Money Thomas had a big game a few weeks ago. He was one of our helmet sticker guys. They've got some dudes on their defense that can play, and I think they're starting to figure out, and they know if we get in the playoffs, and they're in now, or they should be, they got to take care of business. If we get in the playoffs, we're going to be a dangerous team
That's
to beat.
right. Nobody wants to play them.
Nobody wants to see them.
Nope.
And
Absolutely
And
not.
so I think Rico Jackson knows that. I think they know they got to take care of business. Just like he said a couple of weeks ago, it's playoffs for us every week. We got to take care of business because of that stretch that we had. I think that's what they will do this week.
Let's keep it. Let's kick it right back over here to you. This is a game that, you looked at this one on paper before the season. You thought, man, this is going to be a barn burner right here.
I know where you're going.
Hopes Bluff versus Aniana. But now you look at this game, and it's a 25-point line. But I can tell you right now, I was in the office with Mike Robertson today, and I guarantee you he don't see it as a 25-point line. And and I know he's going to say what that is. That is what? Rat poison.
Yeah, it's 100% rat poison. Yeah, but hey, you gotta keep on, keep the beat alive. Let's talk about some of these guys at Hopes Bluff, because you've got so many. Last week, 28 first downs. 28 first downs last week versus Asheville. 3 of 6 and third down. 575 yards total offense, and that was with some substitutes going in later in the game. John Potter, 11 of 19, 189 yards. Just another big night for Hopes Bluff. Got a 21-0 lead, never looked back, and did a good job of taking care of business. We talked about it. They do what they do. They're really good. Bryce Whitaker, here he is with another 150-yard game. Hopes Bluff they're setting themselves up for great things. Hey, let's see if they take care of business against Aniana, which hadn't, that's a team that's beating them, so that's something that you can use in this situation.
You just mentioned Asheville. They're taking on what seems to be the Von Drago of 4A.
The Von Drago.
Coach Kelly and company. Tall task for Asheville in this one. Senior night for Coach Kelly. By the way, don't know if you guys know this. With a win Friday night, they tie the all-time winningest class in Cherokee County history with 41. And then when they roll over into the playoffs, they'll have a shot to break that. So that's pretty remarkable for these group of seniors right here, and it's senior night for them. But how do you get rid of those?
Which says a lot.
I'm not going to call it distractions, Beckett, but you know what I mean.
But coming from Warrior Land, that says a lot. There's been guys, a lot of SEC players, a lot of teams that have been runner-ups. We've had NFL guys, so Coach Kelly's done it. Man, this guy needs to be a helmet sticker nominee at some point, because let's talk about his guys. We're going into Asheville week, so let's talk about what they've done. Tay Diamond, another helmet sticker nominee. He's on the season, 137 carries for 1,043 yards, 16 touchdowns. Keyshawn Woods, 88 carries for 585 and 10 touchdowns. So you got a good chance to have two 1,000-yard rushers. If you have that, good things are going. Tristan Brown, 48 carries, 357 yards. And again, I'm going to bring him up again. Here's the youngster, Adam Griffith, coming in to replace the an injured Mr. Tittle, and 23 of 39, 518 yards and 4 touchdowns in 6 games. Hey, kudos to him. Hats off for that. Again, 8-1, and they are rolling. Outscored opponents 309-95. Close it out here. Use the week to get ready for the playoffs.
Yeah, you talk about the year that they've had, and you talk about what they've been able to do without their leader, without their quarterback for the majority of the year, how they keep rolling. They lost to Piedmont. Everybody kind of had question marks. Then they've just been dominant ever since. So, I mean, just an unbelievable job by Coach Kelly and the Cherokee County Warriors.
Our non-region cross games, we're going to jump on those right now. We're going to kick this thing off with Victory Christian versus Bell Green. You said it earlier in the year, Victory has turned the corner, so to speak, this year, got some wins. As last year they struggled throughout the year. They got some wins early. They've had ups and downs like a lot of teams have this year, but Talk to us about this game.
Well, here's the thing. Rome is not built in a day, but they're definitely moving in the right direction. They play a non-region game where they're favored by 20 against a Bell Green team, and they got to play them. They play them at home, so that's a big deal. But when you look at this region, Donahoe is currently at 2-2. Fayetteville's 0-5. Victory is 2-3. Wadley's 4-0. Winterboro's 4-0, and Woodland is 1-3. And so when you look at that, and you look at the tiebreaker, they have the win against Woodland earlier in the year, and so they should be a playoff team no matter what happens. They've already played all their region games. The worst that they can finish is 2-3, and the best that Woodland can finish is 2-3. And so they should be a playoff team. But here's the thing about it: if Woodland beats Donahoe, it could be a three-way tie. So who knows? I kind of spoke early right there. So there's a lot that's going into this Woodland-Donahoe game because, Donahoe beat Victory Christian beat Woodland, and Woodland, if Woodland was to beat Donahoe, that would be a three-way tie there. So we shall see what that looks like and how that happens, but there's a lot still to shake out in 1A Region 6, so there's still a lot to play for because you never know when non-region games now could become a determining factor as far as tiebreakers and all that stuff. It gets kind of hairy whenever you get into all that.
Playoff breakdown show.
Yeah, playoff breakdown show would be great.
Which we're going to do very soon. Beckett, Leeds and Pelham coming up this week. Leeds is a 24-point favorite in that game. I've got to watch Pelham 2 years ago live in person. I've watched Leeds last year and this year. 24-point game. Talk to me about this one.
All right. Leeds comes in 7-2. But here's my interesting thing. The two teams hadn't played since 1987. You've had a big classification difference, even though Leeds has been a powerhouse. Leeds is 0-2 all time. Leeds coming off the Center Point win, 49-24. Scored 337 points on the season, so they've done a lot.
Was Dabo Swinney there in 87?
Man, he is an 88 grab. You bring it up. I actually asked him that at a coach's clinic. I said, you got 88 grand? He said, I am.
So he was on that 87 team.
Yes. Big Dabo fan there. All right, so as you go with Pelham, only thing I know about Pelham, I got my buddy Craig Hall. I think he's offense coordinator. He told before the season, he said, we're going to struggle. And I said, you pour mouth every time. So I actually saw him at Coach Hobbsdale's funeral. I said, you pour mouth every time. I saw him at the funeral, and I said, no, you wasn't pour mouthing. So they have struggled. You're looking at 7-2 and 0 points in the last 3 weeks coming into Leeds. So, that is definitely the right spread and, uphill battle for Pelham.
Back to you, Central Clay versus Pell City. Pell City has seemed to struggle all year with teams that run downhill. This is not the team you want to line up and face across from you at Central Clay that lines up and runs it downhill right at you pretty much every play. Makes you like it.
But here's the thing about it is Pell City is getting better and better every week, it seems. They won their last two. They're in the playoffs. They're playing pretty well. They're playing with a sense of confidence right now that they hadn't had in a couple of years. You got to think about it. They've won 3 out of their last 4. The only loss they had was a 27-0 loss against an Oxford team that we now see how good they are. There was a 7-0 ball game at halftime. They found their run game. They've made some changes. Defense has been playing really well. They go on the road and get their first true road win last week at Pinson Valley since 2021. So they figured out how to win on the road, which is going to be good because you're about to go into a hostile environment at Central Clay County where they show up and show out every single Friday night, every time they have a game. I know they try to do a really good job at what they do. I know Tommy Wood is their PA guy, and he tries to really change that atmosphere and make an electric atmosphere. He does a really good job.
It makes a difference. I love that in music and PA. And
he does an unbelievable.
Kids love that stuff.
He does an unbelievable job. Me and Tommy go back a long way. He actually was the radio guy for my senior year. Whenever we went, we had a pretty electric year. Had NFL players that didn't make the playoff, but I still have those radio calls. So me and Tommy
He
go back
sounds
a
like a
long way.
future helmet sticker nominee, right
Who,
there.
Tommy?
Yes,
I
just think it
He
adds
does
so
an
much to the
outstanding
game.
job doing that, and it's an electric atmosphere. Central Clay County, we know how good they are. Electric, again, another team that's got a chance to win the state in Class 5A. It's going to be a really tough matchup for Pell City. The biggest thing is Pell City, a playoff team, need to stay healthy going into the playoffs, and then you got another tough matchup next week against a really good Southside team. So,
Beckett, let's kick this thing over to you. Let's kick this thing down in 2A. You've spent a little bit of time with Marco Bryant, Teddy Whitmire and company. Went by and checked in with them, talked to them today, hung out with Amanda, the principal over there. They have one of their toughest, it's hard to say one of their toughest opponents coming, but they've played 5. They played Pierce County. They played Pell City, who they were talking about. It's a 6A team that seems to have turned it around. But this team right here poses a little bit different threat to them because they have an elite level quarterback. Marco Bryant said today on his show that he thinks he's a top 5 quarterback in the state regardless of classification.
Yeah, and he's a really good size quarterback. You know, I'm gonna backtrack just real quick. I love what you said. You know what's special about high school football between the bands, a great PA guy, the music that goes into it, the electric atmosphere, communities having that opportunity to get together, and all the volunteers, the medical people, and can't enough be said about those people. Like the PA guy, he's volunteering his time just to give back to the community. But let's talk football. Coosa did get a chance to be over there. They are. You know, when you're beating people 42-7, 42-0, 59-0, 29-2, 43-0, 49-8, and 62-0, you've got to find a way to challenge yourself. That's kind of where they've been. Hey, it's not going to be hard this week because they're playing Tuscaloosa Academy, so they're playing another dog, a really good team. So let's talk a little bit about some of their statistics. Jalen Terry, 12 carries, 129 yards. J.D. Justice, you mentioned, 4 carries, 41 yards. Not afraid to run the quarterback. Khalid Bryant, our 500 tackle guy, there he is on offense. 2 carries, 25 yards. Cannon Wilson, they only had I think it was 17 offensive plays. That tells you how many prolific plays they had. 8-game winning streak, a big win last week for them.
No doubt.
hey, I need to. Wayne Brown, dad of Tristan Brown, is currently, and he commented that Tristan is the leading tackler, which me and you talked about before the show, and we talked about his rushing attack, but he leads 4A football in tackles with 105 tackles.
I think he's at 105. He's at 88 last.
Yeah, he's at 105 now.
Yeah, 105. He had a fantastic game.
He's had a fantastic
That's what,
career.
through 7 games, 8 games?
He's had
that's
a
impressive.
fantastic career.
That is impressive, guys.
Wayne's a good guy. I talk to him pretty regularly. He actually sent me a video of Tristan doing a 700-pound squat. If you guys have not seen that, we posted it one time. I believe he can do a 435 power clean as well.
I just try to squat myself out of the bed every morning. That's tough enough right now.
Beckett, let's talk about one more right here. Sandrock and Gaston. Sandrock is a 17-point favorite coming into this game. Coach Heath and them needs a win on this one right here, taking on Gaston. But how do you see this game playing out?
Yeah, there again, bad loss. It was over really early for Gaston, and here they got to turn around and find a way. Heavy underdogs this season hadn't gone really well for them. Sandrock, there again, they've struggled of late, and where we really thought they had a chance to be a 2, and now they're fighting for the lives. They're in a 3-way tie in that region, just trying to find a way to get in. I do want to give a shout out to Grant Skaggs, who watches the show. He's got a young man at Gaston. He's got a player at Westbrook. So he's and both are really good. So he's got a lot of football to see, and he always watches the show. Want to give him a shout out. So Sandrock is a favorite. Gaston's, and both of those teams got to find a way to have something to play for. Sandrock's playing to go to the playoffs. Gaston is playing for pride. Got to see a little of that game, and it was over early last week. But they were playing a really good Pisgah game.
You're a fancy man tonight in the comments. Andy and Chrissy Hill says this: Winterboro in the house versus Wadley. Who y'all got? We don't pick games, so we're not going. Good luck to both teams. But also, Coach Mansfield and Coach Beckett, the best coaches to ever come through the borough.
Yeah, and after being there, let me tell you, you talk about a guy who loves and studies and watches every drop of high school football. He's what it's about. Guys like Andy Man, that was his name, Andy Man. Everybody know if you say Andy Man in that Winterboro Alpine area, they're going to know who you're talking about.
Chandler, Pleasant Valley versus Section, 29-point line on this one. Pleasant Valley has won some big football games as of late and have caught fire. Talk to us about this game.
Well, I mean, look, Pleasant Valley made me look like a genius. I say going into the year that one of my crazy hot takes was that Pleasant Valley was going to finish second in the region and host a first-round playoff game. The first time they've hosted a playoff game since 1984. I misspoken and said first time ever, and somebody told me the other night that they hosted one in 1984, and I want to apologize for that. I wasn't alive in 1984. So before, like, I've been alive for almost 35 years now, and they've never hosted a playoff game the whole entire time I've been alive. So what a job by Coach Jonathan Nix. Braxton Salster, helmet sticker nominee, 18 tackles, but not only did he have 18 tackles, he added 110 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns for the Pleasant Valley Raiders. Unbelievable night for him. Coach Jonathan Nix does a good job. Look, man, Jonathan Nix is a guy, like when you talk about a guy who kind of stayed through some tough times and went through some stuff, and I'm not in, so I can say this, he had, at times, man, he had nobody on his coaching staff. It felt like he was so understaffed and having to do so much. And the guys he had did a really good job. But it's really good for a guy like him to be able to have the success that he's had and be able to turn that program around, and also to be able to host a playoff game. You know how, look, that those people show up no matter what. Can you imagine what that atmosphere is going to be like for a first-round playoff game at home? So kudos to him. Braden Papa had a great game the other night. Jaden Sparks has done a good job. Carson Dougal has done a really good job. And they got some guys in different weeks. Every time I look at their scores and their stats, they got different guys that are showing up and making plays. So congratulations to them.
Right back here with you. Pisgah taking on North Sand Mountain, 2 traditional powerhouses up in this area of the state, right there in Jackson County. Talk about this team. Pisgah seems to have been rolling all season long. They're a heavy favorite in this one, 29 points. Coach Pruitt and company is going to be a very tough out in 2A North. Yeah, but before we get there, they got to handle business this week.
Yeah, you talk about Pisgah, and they've kind of been dominant all year. Got a really big win over Fife. Got a big win against Randolph and Plainview in non-region ball games. They've dominated the region. They played North Sand Mountain in that region. It's a crazy region as well. Pisgah is obviously 5-0. Cedar Bluff is 3-3. They're coming off a huge win over Sandrock last week. Gaston is 1-4. North Sand Mountain 3-2. So this is a big game. Like, they still playing big games in that region. Pleasant Valley's 4-1. Section's 0-5. And we talk about who's going to get in, who's going to get that 3rd and 4th spot in that region. I feel pretty confident in saying that Pleasant Valley's going to be able to take care of business, but Pisgah, they're good. I mean, it looks like North Sand Mountain's probably going to end up 3-3. So is I think Cedar Bluff don't have a game this week, so they're going to end up at 3-3. And then Sandrock, I don't know who they play. Let me see who they play this week.
We talked about them earlier.
Yeah, they play Gaston.
Sandrock plays, so this is a must-win game for Sandrock as well. So there's still some things that's got to unfold and see how the tiebreakers work. You're exactly right, man. I would love to do a show and just look at the playoff situations and look at all that. Maybe something that we could try to throw together before next week, because there's a whole show that you could do about.
Got to see Pisgah firsthand last week for a half, and man, really physical football team, which stood out. I can tell you numbers, not names, but and then got to see a little bit of film on them.
Well, Luke
really
Gibbert, we've
impressive.
talked about him a lot, and you talk about the job that Coach Pruitt's done. Just unbelievable job of building something from the ground up, and then
he stayed basic. He was really coaching really hard on technique. I was proud of him. Didn't run a score up when he could have scored 100, but he didn't. Really classy. Kudos to him, and they were really working hard to get better.
Citizens Coach of the Year or something awarded I seen. He was posted online. I don't know exactly what the award was, but kudos to him for that as well.
Stan Anderson said that Braxton Salster's right hand is still in a cast, and he's still putting up those kind of numbers defensively. I'm talking about like a big old club on his hand.
Like a Lyle Alzado?
Yeah, and he's only 15 years old. So.
Stan Anderson's one of my best friends in the world. I love that guy.
Lyle Alzado.
Beckett.
Lyle Alzado.
Southeastern versus West End.
All right, the,
West End Walnut Grove coming off the loss to
Walnut
Coosa
Grove
Christian.
fighting Laura Kings. Here we go. They're coming off Coosa Christian. Hey, they're looking to I'm a big Matt Harris fan. We're sitting here. Southeastern season hadn't gone quite the way they wanted to. Again, they're pushing a lot of young players at West End, looking toward the future. Big game for them to want to close it right before you put those shoulder pads and helmets up and put everything up for the year. Need a really good showing here.
Kick this one over to you, Susan Moore. They've had an up and down year. We've had someone on for a helmet sticker before from there. They're taking on this Cleveland team. It's been a pretty rough go for Cleveland this year. Susan Moore's a 9-point favorite. I know they're going to be looking to win this game for sure, but when you look at this matchup right here, what do you see?
Susan Moore's got to play well. They got to get the guys that were playing well early in the year back playing to that same caliber that they were playing. You talk about them having a tough year. They started out the season 2-2. They got beat by a really good JB Pennington team, and then they lost to 5A Douglas. But then they beat Cold Springs and beat West End. But then they had to turn around and play Coosa Christian. They had to turn around and play a rivalry game against Aniana, which is still going up 2 classifications. They lost to Southeastern 28-6, and they lost to Faultville last week, or 2 weeks ago before their open week, 44-8. Did that open week kind of help them? Did they get some guys back healthy? And we talk about Cleveland. Cleveland has struggled, and like you said, not had a great year. But they're 2-6 right now at this point in the year as well, with a win over Whitesburg Christian and West End. But they got losses to Appalachian, Cold Springs, JB Pennington, Coosa, Southeastern, and Faultville. So this is a game that we feel like Susan Moore needs to win to kind of keep things moving in the right direction and get things back on track. Did they get guys healthy? Can they make the most about playing a Cleveland team that struggled this year?
Guys, we're going to take a quick commercial break, and when we come back, we'll have our final segment, which is 3A, and then our all-important helmet stickers for the week. We'll be right back.
At Bentley Prosthetic and Medical Supply, we care about you. We offer custom prosthetics, orthotics, diabetic shoes, and durable medical supplies. We're located here in Alexandria, Alabama, where it's a country feel but professional care. Come see us today.
Campers Unlimited, we offer a no-pressure experience, no hidden fees, and great service after the sale, making us one of the fastest-growing RV dealers in the Southeast. With our second location in Oxford, we offer a great selection of over 220 campers from top brands, including Grand Design. Our mission is to help friends and family spend time together in the great outdoors. At Campers Unlimited, you aren't just a customer, you are family. Check out our inventory at campersunlimited.net or come see us at Gaston or Oxford.
Hello, I'm Taylor Sloan with the City of Oxford, with a word about one of our city's most precious resources, water. Clean water enriches our lives in so many ways, but we cannot afford to take it for granted. Remember, every time you pour something unnatural down the drain or in the environment, and every time you litter, our beautiful lakes and creeks suffer. Our city is beautiful. Let's all join together to keep it that way. Stop pollution where it starts, and help protect our waters for life.
What can you buy for $10? A hat? A milkshake? 166 channels plus live sports? That's right, for only $10 you can get 166 channels of classic TV shows and movies, including the latest news update from all around the world and local sports. Just simply go to 24ctn.com and click download, and then for only $10 you can have access to the best TV available.
All right, everybody, we're back in. We're going to break down our last segment right here of the show. It's a 3A segment. We're going to kick this thing off with Coach Beckett, and let's talk about the Westbrook Christian Warriors. Coach Steve Smith and company is going to be taking on Weaver. Talk to us about this game.
All right. Coming off last week, heartbreaking Westbrook, JB Pennington scored a touchdown, 37 seconds left in the game to win 33-30. But they're in every game. They're really battling. They're going to turn that corner, we can tell. And when they turn it, it'll be big time. Brody Blevins showed up again, 9 of 23 passing, 254 yards, 3 touchdowns. Brody Johnson's had 4 receptions, 103 yards and a touchdown. Brian Beckham Hammontree, 2 catches, 65 yards and a touchdown. Bo Kilgo, 2 catches, 76 yards. Reed Barber getting it done again, kicking. Let's talk about Grant Skaggs said, hey, make sure you understand this. We've got 2 sophomores that are putting, and tackles are always double digit each week. Titus Jones, 16 tackles. Easton Skaggs, 15 tackles. And then Brooks Whiteside and Jake Haney each had 10 tackles. Why'd I touch on statistics? Because when your statistics are really good like that, you know that a lot of players are getting it done. Hey, Weaver now, is that trap game, folks?
I don't think you can call it a trap game anymore.
No, I guess
think
it's not.
The way Weaver's playing, Weaver has won 2 out of their last 3, had one of the best teams in Class 3A on the ropes this past week. Caden Gooden is playing out of his stinking mind right now. Keyshawn Allen and Junior Allen give him really good weapons on the outside at receiver. And there was no fluke. There was no snaps over the head. There was none of that. Weaver showed up to play last week and had one of the best teams in Class 3A on their heels. They went to Locust Fort and got a big win there. They beat Glencoe. They're playing with a lot of confidence right now. They got to go to Jack Osborne Stadium. That will be the TV24 game of the week. That game got a lot more intriguing the last few weeks. I know Westbrook Christian comes in as a 14-point favorite, but Weaver has been playing really well. But the difference is, and the difference this last game, is Weaver finally started playing a little defense. Like defense, we talk about offense, and that's the direction that the game has went. But defense can still keep you in ball games and give you a fighting chance. The things that travel is run game and defense, and they're going to have some electric plays with Caden Gooden, I'm intrigued. I really am. And this region is so. Like, you don't know what. 2 weeks ago, Weaver goes to Locust Fort, beats Locust Fort. Locust Fort comes up to Welborn, who was 4-1 in the region before last week, and beats Welborn. And so now you get Locust Fort. If they win out, they're going to be the second. They're going to be the second seed in that region. They have Glencoe and Sachs. There's a great possibility that they could win out even without their. We would consider their best player, and they got a chance to win out and finish second in the region. And then behind that, J.B. Pennington got a huge win over Westbrook last week. Walter Welborn and Westbrook play next week. That region is absolutely crazy. Ohatchee's got theirself in the conversation with some big wins of late. So that region is nuts. Like, I'm just being honest. It's a 9-team region, and there's going to be 1 to 2 really good football teams that don't make the playoffs.
Let's talk about that region a little bit more. Piedmont versus Walter Welborn, 20-point line on that one.
Walter Welborn, losers of 2 straight. We know they have really good players. Jackson Newton makes plays. We know that they got guys that play the game the right way. We know what kind of coach Jeff Smith is. We know the job that Jonathan Miller has been able to do in his short 2 years at Piedmont already. He's got his culture and his brand stamped all over that program. Listen, good teams figure out a way to win games that are close. Like, hey, you can say what you want to. They won the ball game. Like, when you look at Alabama Crimson Tide right now, they would have loved to have won. They were in both ball games that they've lost this year and couldn't figure out a way to win the games. And then you look at Auburn. Auburn's been up in the fourth quarter 2 or 3 ball games that they've lost and what they would have finished. They couldn't close the deal. Good teams find a way to win. Now, you talk about, and you got to give Weaver some credit in that, but Piedmont found a way to win 26-21. They got playmakers all over the field. They're playing better defensively this year. But this is going to be a ball game where it feels like Welborn's up against a wall. And I'm ready. I'm intrigued to see it. It's at Piedmont. It's hard to go to the Field of Champions and win. But these 2 teams in the past have had some wars. And like I said, Walter Welborn don't want to lose a 3rd region game in a row and put their backs up against a wall when they have to play a Westbrook Christian game that could roll in and have playoff implications on it next week. They've got to figure out a way. I think they pull out all the stops, and that's going to be a ball game that's going to be a lot closer, I think, than what the line shows at 20.
Beckett, he just mentioned Locust Fort and how they went and got a big win versus Walter Welborn. Let's talk about Locust Fort playing Glencoe right here. In all intents and purposes, they got to win this one and win out to get that number 2 seed and host. So talk to us about this game.
Yeah, and here's the question you got to ask yourself. Is this the Locust Fort that showed up 2 weeks ago, or is this the Locust Fort that showed up this past Friday night that kind of appeared, hey, we do have other weapons. Dino was great, but, man, we've still got a team. We're going to rally the troops.
Still got Levi White.
Hey, man, we got a lot of pride. Let's work our way back in this thing. Let's talk to Glencoe. Lost last week to Ohatchee, 46-21. Jake Boggs rushed for 177 yards, 2 touchdowns on 17 carries. Alex Hudson, 13 carries, 82 yards. Bronner McMurray, 54 yards and a touchdown on 11 attempts. Aiden Johnson added 48 more on 2 carries. You can know that Coach Scott Martin's team is going to be able to run the ball. Jalen Hunter, defensively, 7 tackles. Cooper Gomez, 6. Hudson and Parker Gullidge had 5 each. And then Mr. Johnson had 4. So, and Gullidge had an interception as well. So, they're going to keep grinding. They're battling. Glencoe's just in a tough region. Locust Fork, they're at home, though. Going to be tough to beat.
Ohatchee versus Sachs. Talk to us about this one.
Phil, Ohatchee needs a lot of things to go their way, but like I said, I think they still have a chance to get in. I think Ohatchee comes in the game 5-4. So this will be their last ball game of the regular season, and they have to sit around and look at what happens. When you look at Ohatchee in the region, they have wins over Weaver. They have a win over Walter Welborn, and they have a win over Glencoe. And so they would have a tiebreaker if it came down to them and Walter Welborn. They don't have a tiebreaker with Westbrook Christian. It could end up being 3-way ties and stuff like that. But I think they would love to have some of their early games back. They're another team that's starting to play better defensively, and that's why they've been able to win some of the games here lately. They've won 4 out of their last 5 and could make that 5 out of their last 6, but we know a Sachs team that is playing they're playing okay. Their record don't show it, but they're competing and battling in almost every game that they play in. Coach Freeney does an outstanding job there. They have players. They're playing with a lot of pride. And it's one of those things we talked about Sachs. We felt like they were going to be better than they were last year, but the school board may not show it because of the region they're in, and I think that was spot on at the beginning of the year when we talked about that. But when you look at Ohatchee, Nate Jones had a great game the other night. The Roberson kid's been unbelievable all year, and the job that Coach Finley's been able to do after that 3-game skid in games 2, 3, and 4 to win 4 out of their last 5 and have a chance to win 5 out of their last 6 says a lot about them, the culture that they're building, and we all know. Like they were down and out, got beat by Westbrook Christian. That Westbrook Christian had a undefeated Walter Welborn team that rolled in at the Creek Bank. We know that crazy things can happen at the Creek Bank, and so they're a team that continue to get better all year. Was putting in a new offense and all that, and defense is starting to play better. So I'm intrigued by that matchup.
Beckett, Collinsville, Holly Pond.
All right, Collinsville there again. Really good offensive football team. Just need to score a lot of points. Holly Pond, next man up. Let's go ahead and take care of a regional opponent. If you're Collinsville and try to push yourself on into playoffs.
Sylvania and Brindley, while you're right there, let's go ahead and hit that one. Brindley been struggling a good bit this year. You're really close to the Sylvania staff.
Yeah, and rather than last week, great job, took care of business, won 54-0 against Asbury. And a lot of people got to play. I thought they did a real good job of developing players. Look on the season statistics rather than focus on that one. Aiden Parham on the year, 187 carries, 1705 rushing, 21 touchdowns. Only lost one fumble. Roman McKeon, 4 carries, 25 yards. Griffin Turner, 19 of 88. Travis Owens, 20 carries, 176 yards. Seth Ledford, 13 for 99. Good to see some of those younger guys. Griffin Turner is 48 of 85 on the year, 782 yards. Got a chance to go over 1,000 yards, which is always big. 2 double-digit guys, Clayton Brown, John Robert Dixon, both with 10 and 11 catches each. So great job by that staff taking care of business. Got to see them practice last week, and I thought they did a really good job of handling the week out of school, fall break, and just kind of how to handle these 2 weeks where they were big favorites. Going to go be the 2 seed, and then they go into their Iron Bowl there at the end of the year against Pisgah. You don't want to I guess, get too far ahead, and you just want to take care of one at a time. But that's a big one on the 1st of November.
This next one's shaping up to be a monumental football game, and it means a whole lot more this time because they're both in the same region. We're talking about Fife and Geraldine. This one is a 4-point line. This one could go either way. Two great teams, two great communities, two great coaches going head-to-head. Both of you guys speak on this one.
At one point in the year, I would have never thought that this game was going to be a 4-point line. Geraldine is still super young, but they're a team that's gotten better and better and better each and every week. Talk about the job that Coach Michael Davis has done there. Just kind of consistency and a culture that no matter who they put out on the field, they're going to play the same way and play hard. Fife is starting to get things rolling, which you expect with Fife. The later it gets in the year, the more playoff ready that they get. And you know that Coach Benefield's always going to have their guys ready to play. This is a game that's intriguing. Like I said, at one point, if Geraldine, and there's a lot to play for in this game as well, correct? If Geraldine wins, would that make a three-way tie for first place in that region?
And that throws a wrench in things.
Yeah, so there's a lot to play for there. If Fife wins, they are the region champion, but if Fife loses, then there would be a three-way tie because that would have mean Sylvania beat Geraldine, Geraldine beat Fife, and Fife beat Sylvania, correct?
That's correct.
Let me pull it up right fast, and we'll see.
You're right. It's you know, you're sitting there with 5-6-0. Geraldine's 5-1.
Yep.
Sylvania's 5-1.
5-1, yep.
Yep. So
Then
that,
we go
you know,
to-
I stated earlier, Sylvania could be the. Looks like they have the two wrapped up. Might not be so fast.
Now, here's
tiebreaker.
Here's an interesting point, and if it does go to a three-way tie, Fife. It's hard for people. Fife to find games. Nobody wants to play them because nobody wants to
so
get
they're
physically beat
non-region.
up, and nobody wants to lose. And so they only had 9 games this season. They didn't even have a full 10
And they
games.
didn't win a single non-region game, so that
As
could
a,
hurt them.
who is their other non-region?
Pisgah and Coosa.
Pisgah, Coosa. That's right. Yeah. So that
And-
would hurt them in this situation.
and
So,
so-
they got to win. It's a win. Yeah, they
Yeah.
got to handle on the field.
No doubt
but see,
about
and again, it goes back. Nobody wants to play them.
No.
If you're higher classification, what are you going to gain from it? Well, you're going to get your guys physically beat up, all right? And if you're a lower classification, you're scared to death of them.
Well, like you're scared to death. If they're in your classification,
You
man,
don't-
why do I want to get my kids beat up in the middle of the year? If you're bigger than them, well, you're supposed to win, and if you lose, then everybody says,
Yeah.
hey, you just got beat by a 3A school, and they don't take into account that team could beat a lot of teams 1A through 7A in our state.
Kudos to Geraldine, though. Let's look at their non-region. Played Sardis, you know, up in class, 135-6. Played Boaz, 149-20. And we turn around and we see what Boaz does against Garnersville, you know, and there they are playing Douglas at the end of the year. You know, they're not running either.
So it feels like, though, that if the Geraldine was able to find a way to win against Fife, that would make Geraldine the region champion. That would make Fife sack it because of the non-region stuff.
Because of the
And then-
non-region, Sylvania lost against North Jackson, ended up a really big
Yeah,
game.
they ended up
and then
really-
Fife's playing the world.
Well, like, the thing about it is like Geraldine's probably gonna have more non-region wins than both of them. So then it's gonna come down to head-for-head for the 2, and then Fife would be the 2, Sylvania would be the 3.
head. That's right.
And so
It would hurt.
It would hurt. It would hurt Sylvania, especially because they would go from going into this game feeling like they got a pretty good opportunity to host a first-round playoff game. Now they're on the road.
It's a good point, and I hadn't thought about it real quick. And those are just beautiful rivalries up there on the mountain. Fife leads at 45-35 in 2, but Geraldine won 17-6. Geraldine has snuck in some wins, you know, recently against Fife, and you know those are few and far between. That tells you where their program is. Doesn't mean they'll win this year, but man, that was going to be interesting.
And
Keep an eye on it.
who did you say Sylvania? Sorry, who did you say Sylvania play? They play Pisgah
North.
next week. Next week, so that would make that one even a bigger game too. if
So
tonight- if
instead
that
of
was to
for
happen.
pride and you know, and last year Coach Van and Coach Pruitt actually were looking ahead of the playoffs because those two are physical teams.
Yeah.
You can beat yourself to death. They went ahead and really played a lot of people and didn't play to the death. Can't do that. You got to play it. It's got to be the Iron Bowl, and you turn around the SEC championship the next week.
No doubt.
All right, guys, we're going to get over into our helmet stickers now. It's that time of the week. It's our favorite time of the week to feature a lot of these guys who's really stepped out and done a whole lot, done some things that's, you know, outstanding for their community schools and things like that. We're going to let Mr. Chandler Tyree kick this one off.
First off, I got James Tapley. James is a senior linebacker for the Oxford Yellow Jackets. He had 18 tackles for the Oxford Yellow. Talk about defense, keep them in the ball game. Fell behind 10-0 and was able to hold strong until the end of the ball game and held them scoreless the rest of the way out. And so kudos to him. Like we talked about earlier, they had Fleming, Jayez Fleming had 17 tackles. Keenan Britt, the South Carolina commit, had 16. So you could have chosen anybody, but James Tapley's been an unsung hero for them in the middle of that defense for the last couple of years, and just the job that he did on Friday night, kind of holding his own and having 18 tackles against a really good Clay Chalkwell team.
Right back to you, Mr. Chandler Tyree. Who's your next guy?
Yeah, I put myself first this week since I didn't want y'all to. I got Braxton Salster, kid we hadn't talked about. We talked about Pleasant Valley and the job that they've been able to do. And Braxton Salster, 18 tackles himself defensively. He's only 15 years old. He's a sophomore. Rushed for 110 yards and 2 touchdowns for the Pleasant Valley Raiders, who will be hosting a playoff game for the first time since 1984. So kudos to him and the Pleasant Valley Raiders. Could have gave that to a lot of people on their team for the job that they've been able to do this year. But that guy's been a guy, and everybody's been talking about him. And for him to have that kind of game in that type of ball game where they had to win it, to have 110 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns and 18 tackles defensively, he earned that helmet.
You called this season. Hey, you're doing a great job on graphics, man. That helmet.
And
every time I see helmet, I go, man, that looks
guys,
good.
and by the way, our helmet stickers, they are in, so we can get them out to you. If we haven't been by your school lately, messages, we'll get them to you one way or another. So the helmet stickers are in, and we have been distributing them as we go out to games and things like that. My first person, man, this one's a very special one. This is Mr. Tate Anderson. If you guys seen the video of Tate scoring the touchdown with his brother Logan right there, very, very, very special moment that happened in Fife, Alabama. And we want to thank Jason Pruitt for that video. We also want to thank Voice of DeKalb and Marla for this picture right here. Tate is the little brother of Logan Anderson. Wasn't a dry eye in the house, so to speak, when he carried it across that goal line. Special moment for him to share that football field with so many great Andersons have come through there, whether it be Peyton, whether it be Logan. But man, what a special moment in Fife, Alabama to see Mr. Tate Anderson scoring his first career touchdown
What
there.
a special moment for everybody involved with that, allowing that to happen.
100%, including Holly Pond. Shout out to them for allowing that to happen as well.
All right, I want to talk about Wes Tidwell, the coach at Ragland High School. A lot of people had given the school up for dead. We talk about giving a team up for dead. People were giving the school up for dead. So why is high school football important? It's the front porch of a school. It's really important. Communities rally around it, and this makes it even bigger than the game. When you look at what they've done, won 4 or 5, they put themselves in the playoffs, and man, a really prideful moment for the community. Hats off to him. He could have laid down and played dead in the cowboy movie. He didn't, guys.
You don't know Coach Tidwell if you think he's going to lay down and play dead.
No, sir.
Yeah, shout out to him. That is huge, man, because like you said, all the rumors swirling, he put all that to bed and said, hey, I'll tell you how I can handle this out there on that football field.
Yeah, no doubt about it.
And getting them rolling, that's exactly what he did. All right, my next helmet sticker, surprise, surprise, is a man who's already earned a helmet sticker from me earlier this year. He's going to earn another one this week, and if he continues to play, he'll earn some more on down the list. Tyler Pierce from Boaz. The young man played out of his mind again. To go and take on Guntersville and beat that undefeated Guntersville team like he did with the performance he had. 15 of 30 passing, 246 yards, 4 touchdowns. Then a turnaround and get it done on the ground as well. He had 10 attempts for 71 yards and a touchdown. And to pull that Boaz team through with a big victory, 42-35. Shout out to Mr. Pierce and his second helmet sticker, and I will have that out to you, both of them, next week when I do the coaches show with Coach Sully, and that man is on fire.
No doubt about it.
Up next, big 46-21 win for Ohatchee. Let's talk about Nate Jones. Nate Jones, that dude brought it, folks. 211 yards, 26 carries. Defensively, had a pick, had 15 tackles again, and a big win over Glencoe.
211 carries, I was about to say.
Yeah, well, feed the guy, man, when they're good. Give him the rock.
Hey, I've seen some guys have 50 carries in
No
the game
doubt.
before.
No doubt.
Beckett.
All right, let's turn around and let's talk about Southside again. Getting to see that game, and when you're a youngster and you look up and there is however many thousand were at that game, thousands and thousands, 2 communities represented. But Cooper Yancey of Southside, 43-yard field goal, game on the line, tried and true, and man, the whole on that side of the bridge made a lot of people happy. And Southside, big upset win over Gadsden City.
We're going to close our helmet stickers out. I know for a fact it's the first coach I've ever had with a helmet sticker, but I'm going to go ahead and say it right now. He's earned every bit of this helmet sticker, and I'm talking about Coach Ben Stewart of the Southside Panthers. You know, earlier this year, they were down 35-0 at one point to Guntersville, and I heard the crowd, and I heard the murmuring and things behind me. I was at the game, and then they go and score late in that game, and, you know, Coach Stewart and I talked on the show about it. The next week, they turn around in front of the entire North Alabama because they played on a Thursday night, and they lose to rival Hokes Bluff. And then I heard more murmuring and people complaining. But since that time, he has turned this thing completely around. A lot of stuff, you know, can go wrong, and this thing could come off the rails. Well, it hasn't come off the rails. He's been a winner of 5 out of the last 6 games. Lost a very, very close game versus Fort Payne, but has won 4 straight. And then the biggest win in recent Southside football history in my mind was the one versus Gadsden City because of the hype before that game and the build-up over the couple of years. They tried to get it scheduled a couple of years ago, didn't. Then the ASHAA said, well, you're going to be in the same region, so you got to play. So those 2 communities, as you said, have been looking for that game for so long, and for it to be played and then to not only win it but go on the road to Titan Stadium, get that win. Shout out to Ben Stewart, man, for holding that thing together, not holding it together, but pushing it forward.
Can I add something to that?
Yeah.
I don't know if a lot of people thought like me, but going into the year with them going from 5A to 6A, with them losing the guys and the caliber of players that they lost, I knew they were going to be big up front. I did not expect them to finish the 2 seed in that region.
Yeah.
I didn't think they had a chance to do that. I thought at best they may slip into the playoffs as a 4 seed. But for them to be able to go and do what they've done is unbelievable.
Lost their quarterback as well a couple of weeks ago. So it's been an unbelievable coaching job by him. And holding it together with all the, you know, the thing could have easily come off the rails. Yep. He ain't holding it together. He's moving forward. Final thoughts, guys. We got about 5 minutes.
Well, a while ago you were talking about the carries, and this doesn't have anything to do with anything, but it made me laugh and think back. My dad was coaching John Edwards, running back. Excellent. Ended up walking on playing at Auburn, but at Collinsville he was just an outstanding running back, and he was in the 40s of carries. And John, I remember my dad, John came off on the sideline, told my dad, he said, the next time you call my number, you're going to run it instead of me. That is a lot of carries when you get into 40. And we've seen guys, the type shape young people are not, you know, it's nutrition, it's great weight coaches. I'm really, really impressed on how great a shape young people are in now. All right, hey, I want to give, instead of talking about games, I want to say thanks to some people that really, you know, I'm throwing all these statistics out because we want to get, high school football is about these young people. We want to get their names out. We want to mention them. We want the schools and the communities a lot of pride, and they deserve it. They're working blood, sweat, and tears to get that. I want to thank those Shannon Fagan, WEIS and Center, has worked with the Cherokee Herald, does a great job covering high school football, does a radio show on Thursday. Kurt Duryea, who's Westbrook Media, and he works with Alabama High School Football Association. He has a big historical podcast every week. These guys feed information. Max Donaldson, Gadsden Times. Chris McCarthy's been amazing with the Messenger, and I just want to take time for those to thank those guys and thank them for what they do and for helping us so much along the way.
We got about 3 minutes here, and I'm
gonna be quick. I'm gonna be quick.
Go first?
Yeah, I'll let you. I'm gonna get done. The games I'm looking forward to: Arab and Boaz. Big implications on that game. Jacksonville and St. Clair County. Winner gets in. Alexandria and Etowah. Winner. If Etowah wins, they're in. All right. Alexandria loses, they're out. So big implications on that game. Fife. and Geraldine, big implications for that game. We talked about earlier. If Geraldine finds a way to win, three-way tie for first place in that region. Piedmont, Walter Welborn. Walter Welborn desperately needs a win. They got to try to get one against a really good Piedmont team. Westbrook Christian and Weaver. Weaver's been playing great of late. Westbrook Christian's in dire need of a win as well after losing that J.B. Pennington last week. Coosa Christian, Tuscaloosa Academy. Game thought to be bigger. I don't think it's going to be as good a game as people think, but I'm still intrigued by it. And Woodland and Donahoe. That's a big game there, and I think people are overlooking Donahoe with Woodland being favored by 15. So I'm intrigued by that matchup as well.
Mine is going to be there's a couple of games that really jump off the page to me. One of them that's kind of snuck in here is going to be a real tricky game is the Jacksonville-St. Clair County. That being a 1-point line. Jacksonville could make a statement by winning that game. St. Clair has been up and down, but they've been playing some good football. So interesting football game right there. All eyes in the state's going to be on Fife and Geraldine. Very, very intriguing game there, as it has been. You said it earlier, they have had some success against the Fife Red Devils of late. I'm with you about the Coosa game, Tuscaloosa Academy game. I don't think it is going to be what a lot of people think it's going to be either. But I am intrigued to see that one for sure.
I'm intrigued to see if I'm right.
And then you said this one, the game that we're going to be calling, Caleb Brooks will be calling, Westbrook and Weaver. And I may stick my head into that one because it's right there by the house and check that one out. That was a real intriguing game.
And then, Caleb and Jackson New will be on that call on Friday night. So I'm excited about that.
Thursday, I may try to get down here to Oxford and check out that Huffman-Oxford game.
Yeah, I don't know what kind of ball game that'll be, but I know that's
just see
going to be a really
Mason
cool
Mims
atmosphere.
again in person, and that's all I have, guys. What y'all got anything else?
Just excited about it. Thanks everybody. This show don't happen without people that tune in and watch it. So thanks for the people that make the show what it is. If we're sitting here talking, it does no good if nobody's watching. But we've had a ton of people watching and interacting all night long. Listen, if we didn't get with you on the comments like we usually do, I don't have my computer because I'm streaming it because our guy that usually streams it on Average Joe's is out of town. And so thanks to MJ, who's back in the booth, for making it happen on that end. And y'all too, man. It's been fun. I love doing this show.
How much time we got?
We got 30 seconds.
30 seconds.
Well, this show is taking off. Your fifth quarter show, man, make sure to watch that fifth quarter show and go to a high school football game Friday night.
Watkins Heating and Cooling, thank you.
Can't beat them. Thank them.
Mr. Watkins, and also Countertop Creations. And guys, another great week of high school football is here, and we are getting so close to these playoffs. I cannot wait.
Cannot wait. Can't beat it. We got 5 seconds left. What y'all got?
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.